Good evening and welcome. At least as far back as the Trojan horse in ancient Greece, psyops, that is psychological operations, and false flags have been part of the political and military landscape. Over the past 120 years or so, there have been at least 50 false flags to which governments have admitted, and many others that have been suspected or in some way proven. How do you recognize a false flag or other psyops? Here are about 50 or so tips for recognizing false flags and other psyops. First, there's the narrative. Almost immediately after the event has occurred, government officials, law enforcement, and the mainstream media offer a complete, comprehensive narrative, including a convenient culprit, that encourages the public to adjust their perceptions of the event around the emotions that are generated surrounding the event. Number two, even before law enforcement officials have had time to investigate, the news media has already agreed on a culprit. Make that patsy. Number three, the official narrative has obvious domestic and geopolitical advantages for the powers that be. Number four, the official narrative for the attack tends to leverage such emotions as fear or patriotism in order to manufacture consent around a previously controversial issue, such as gun confiscation. Number five, government officials and the mainstream media promote a narrative against scapegoated groups or to promote an agenda that would deprive American citizens of life, liberty, or property. Number six, the official narrative keeps changing to adjust to new facts that contradict the official narrative. Number seven, no matter how many times the official narrative changes, people who question the official narrative are demonized as conspiracy theorists or worse. Often, people who question the official narrative are accused of mistreating or in some way harming or hurting the victims of the tragedy. Now we come to the nature of the event. Number eight, it's a high-profile event. For example, mass murder is defined as 4 or more people being killed at the same time in a murder. That happens around 300 times or more a year in the United States. And most of those murders are ignored by the mainstream media. A few, however, a very few, are covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That by itself doesn't prove that it's a false flag or other psyops, but it is an indicator. Number 9, the event seems too theatrical to be real, or at least too theatrical to be taken at face value. Now, obvious holes in the narrative. Number 10, boundary conditions. A boundary condition is any condition that has to be met in order for an event to take place. For example, if we're told that someone hijacked a plane and flew it to a certain destination, it would be necessary for that person to be able to fly that particular plane and navigate it to the destination in question. Number 11, the official narrative contradicts personal, historical, or scientific experience. Number 12, other evidence that would be fatal to the official narrative is ignored. Another area of suspicion is official behavior before or during the event. Number 13, a military or police drill is taking place on the same day of the event, near the event, and which simulates an event that is virtually identical to the quote-unquote real event. This creates confusion, muddles eyewitness testimony, makes it easier to create disinformation, create patsies, and otherwise confuse the event. and plant disinformation and backup operatives. Number 14. Government or media foreknowledge of the event. Number 15. Warnings are ignored. 16. Authorities facilitated the event, either actively or passively. 17. People acting in an official capacity commit serious violations of protocol. Let's look at the suspects. Number 18. The suspect has a new social media account. Number 19. The suspect leaves a manifesto. It's usually easily readable. Number 20. The suspect has had no military training, yet he shoots extremely fast and accurately. 21. The suspect has a demonstrable connection to the FBI or the CIA or some other intelligence agency. 22. The suspect has no credible means of funding, and yet he's using hardware that's extremely expensive. 23. In many cases, the suspect is killed before he can be brought to trial. In the case of a terrorist group, propaganda is clearly designed for domestic consumption. For example, an Arabic-speaking terrorist group may be known by initials based on English words. Now the witnesses. Number 25. On local news, eyewitnesses whose accounts conflict with the official narrative are ignored by the national media. 26. Witnesses whose accounts may be fatal to the official narrative and who can't be ignored are killed, or they in some way die under suspicious circumstances. 27. Witnesses or family members who support the official narrative often have elite or acting backgrounds. 28. Witnesses uncharacteristically recite official talking points. 29. Witnesses are speaking in officialese, for example, saying, "I witnessed" rather than "I saw," or multiple gunshots instead of several or a certain number. 30. The same witness pops up as a witness to two or more tragedies. 31. Witnesses speak in generalities to avoid telling a story that's too different from the story told by another witness. 32. News reporters interviewing a witness either reinterpret what the witness says or they cut him off altogether. Victims and their families. Number 33. Either fake victims or the same victim gets killed in two or more separate events. 34. Families of the victims show up on television within 24 hours showing no grief, sometimes even smiling, sniggering, or laughing. 35. Non sequiturs, for example, being told that the families of the murdered victims would not want any investigation of how their loved ones died. 36. The victims' families don't sue anybody for negligence, but they receive millions of dollars in payouts from the federal government or from contributions. Now let's look at the news reports. 37. There's no obvious motive for the crime. 38. The media may obsess over search for motive, diverting attention away from any realistic search for other evidence. 39. Credible reports of accomplices to the crime, John Doe number 2 for example, are ignored or quickly covered up. Number 40. Earlier news reports given by local news media on the scene contradict later news reports given by the national media who were nowhere near there. The earlier reports are conveniently dropped down a memory hole. 41. The same reporter may contradict himself in 2 successive days and pretend that there's no contradiction. Or official documents may contradict the official story. Now, the investigators after the event. Number 42. Neither the news media nor official investigators ask the crucial question, who benefits? 43. Other key questions are not investigated and the questions are left unanswered. 44. Key evidence is conveniently destroyed or made unavailable to the public. For example, closed-circuit television videos are either unavailable or the video cameras were not working that day. 45. Official behavior contradicts the official narrative. For example, on 9/11, planes were grounded, but flights were arranged for the bin Laden family to leave the United States. 46. The case is quickly closed. Aftermath. The government takes action against the scapegoat or moves along the lines of the media narrative. 48. The officially proposed solution would not have prevented the tragedy from happening. Other indicators. 49. Clues in pop media, such as movies or television. Do a web search for predictive programming. 50. Other anomalies which may seem all the more anomalous because you've seen them in several events. Well, that's my list. Just remember that not everything is a conspiracy, but conspiracies do happen. Politics, by its very nature, is conspiratorial. This is Jerry Mills. Thanks for watching, and good day.